Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. The latest as it pertains to newly crowned two-division champion Sandy Ryan, who aspires to face Katie Taylor in what is reported to be her last fight, saying, "I'm good friends with Katie, and if the fight is there, that's a lot of money, so I'd be happy to take the fight." Unfortunately for Sandy, I don't think she's in the running.
I don't think she's gonna get it.
In my previous video, we talked about the potentiality of 3 other girls in line by way of the alphabet organizations that might get the fight. Natasha Jonas via the IBF, Edith Soledad Matisse via the WBA, former champion Patricia Bergould via the WBO. That it could easily be one of them that faces Katie in Katie Taylor's swan song before Sandy Ryan, who sports a professional record of 9 wins with 3 losses and 1 draw, 3 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 13 professional bouts, last in action a little over a week ago opposite the ring against the very game Carla Zamora, who Sandy boxed to a decision. And as stated, I don't think she's going to be the one that gets the Katie Taylor fight, unfortunately, but fortunately, Katie Taylor's imminent retirement will open up the rest of the division and the rest of the belts to Sandy Bryan, who afterwards would fast become the most recognizable face at the weight, the biggest name, and thus, that in and of itself will funnel the other fighters to her.
Bryan.
She won't have to go looking for opponents because the opponents will find her. Currently on a 2-fight winning streak after having suffered back-to-back losses to Michaela Mayer. She lost 2 fights to Michaela, then won 2 more after that. Now after this, once Katie's gone and retired, Sandy Ryan will become the biggest name at the weight, which gives her an advantage. New crop of champions will sprout from the ground to pick up the belts that will get redistributed, at which point, if they want to make any serious money, they're going to have to fight Sandy Ryan. And it's not just them. It is also those fighters currently at 135 down the line. At some point, they're going to move up. So you figure that if Sandy goes on an undisputed run of her own and picks up every single alphabet title at the weight, she will corner a fight with any fighters moving into the 140-pound division, because to win a belt, they would have to see her. I give Sandy Ryan very good odds to become this division's next undisputed champion. Though I've never actually heard her talk about going undisputed, I think it is something that she should pursue. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Bill Haney, the father of Devin Haney, says that Naoya Inoue's career is manufactured, and he shouldn't be over Devin Haney on the pound-for-pound list. If they are the same size, who do you have winning the fight and how?
Inoue by way of knockout.
Where did Bill Haney say this fucking nonsense?
About a day or so ago on The Boxing Voice, where he makes regular appearances. Of course, he's going to sell his son. Of course, he's going to try to convince you that even though he's accomplished far less than Inoue, somehow he's better. Calling Inoue manufactured.
He is just doing what you expect a father to do, a father who also doubles as a promoter for his son. Not the first time I've heard Bill Haney say something that doesn't make sense. I remember he once said that his son's pay-per-view did more numbers than any other pay-per-view that year, even though he wasn't actually given a number.
What?
The fight didn't sell, and it doesn't sell when it done more pay-per-views than any other fight this year. What the hell are we talking about, man?
So what are the official numbers that you've been given?
I haven't been given an official number.
Do you see what I mean? How could you make the claim that your son's pay-per-views sold the most that year when you don't even know what it sold because nobody gave you a number?
Guy just chats shit, man. He just chats pure shit all the time. Some bit of it you have to accept because he's Devin's father, and he's gonna do that. But that doesn't make it any less stupid. You called Inoue manufactured.
You're fucking joking, right?
Think about the string of guys that Inoue had to go through at 118 to become undisputed there, at 122 to become undisputed there, all of which are better than the one guy Devin had to fight,
George Kambosos. That's it. Devin Haney in modern boxing has had the weakest undisputed run by and large of any male boxer, because all he had to do was fight one guy, and the one guy wasn't even very good. That's not a victory that has aged well for Bevin. But you want to call Inoue manufactured? Because most pound-for-pound lists, if not all of them, have Naoya Inoue
ahead of Devin Haney for good reason.
Devin's been a champion at 3 weights. Inoue has been a champion at 4. Bevin's been undisputed but once, whereas Inoue has been undisputed twice. Devin's beaten a grand total of 3 reigning world champions and taken titles from them, whereas Inoue has beaten a grand total of 7 or 8 world champions and taken titles from them. There is no area, no arena where Naoya Inoue doesn't clear Devin Haney. There is no quantifiable metric where Inoue doesn't surpass him. Given that Naoya Inoue is set to embark on yet another super fight in the land of the rising sun while Devin scratches and sniffs for somebody to give a damn about him here in the United States, you could also argue that Inoue is a lot more popular, generates more money, is a bigger star, while Devin Haney gets for a fight purse is what Naoya Inoue gets in endorsements. Endorsements alone, not even counting fight purse money.
What was it, a reported 16 million?
So to then call that fighter, who is more accomplished than your son, only speaks to your petulance, your immaturity, your jealousy.
You're fucking jealous. He's got a country behind him. Who the fuck have you got behind you?
A noticeable pattern that has become established here in the United States as Naoya Inoue has stepped into the limelight and come into prominence. Those who go out of their way to disparage him. Even those he's already proven wrong, because I can remember a good number of individuals who went with Stephen Fulton to beat him.
Remember them?
To quote-unquote expose him because he had not yet faced a quote-unquote slick black American fighter. Stephen didn't look so slick when the opening bell sounded, and yet there are still people out there who refuse to give him credit.
Like Bill Haney.
Why is your son supposed to be rated ahead of him again? On the pound-for-pound list, when near as I can tell, he has a better resume than your son, generates more money than your son. Because he's your son, you're expected to lack basic objectivity, but because he's not my son,
I can be completely impartial in all the ways you can't. I can be objective. It's gonna take Devin Haney a while to catch up to Naoya Inoue's accolades, because I don't even know that Devin will go on to become a 2-time undisputed champion like Inoue and a 4-weight world champion like Inoue. I don't know that Bevin is ever gonna get there.
I don't know that he's ever gonna get there, but what I do know is the boxing community at large is tired of these snake oil salesmen like Bill and Devin Haney, who talk themselves up like the greatest thing smoking just to get out there and bore everybody to death.
So get out there and fight like a fucking pussy.
A bitch. Another wannabe Mayweather clone, pity-patting his opponents and not finishing their food. Inoue's about to fight in a super fight, a historic super fight, against his countryman, Junto Nakatanyi.
What about Devin?
Where's Devin gonna fight?
Why is Devin so easy to ignore at 147 pounds while he pretends to be the best thing smoking?
It's because the money and interest that an Inoue fight generates is organic. It is created by the people who support him. Inoue doesn't actually need a Saudi bag or Turkey El Sheikh to generate a lot of money, generate a lot of interest. He was doing that before Turkey came into it, whereas Bevin
doesn't have that kind of a following because he's boring as fuck. He simply doesn't have enough bodies to generate the money and the interest that an Inoue fight generates.
Inoue fights in Japan, it's not uncommon for 50,000 Japanese to show up to see him. Could Devin do that here in the United States? You know the answer.
No.
We all do. How is it you're coming off a quote-unquote big win over an unbeaten champion and everybody's still ignoring you?
You're boring.
You need a Turkey El Sheikh. You need an Eddie Hearn. You need somebody to pay you because you won't create the interest on your own. You're not interesting. You're manufactured.
Fucking bitch.
10 years from now, people aren't going to be sat around the campfire telling stories about a fighter like you. No, fighters like you aren't the reason that combat sports are popular. Fighters like you are parasites, latching on to the fighters that do have paying customers, that do have fans, because you don't.
Pretending that he's a promoter.
Why don't you pay yourself, surely? You can generate the big purses and the big money from your legions of fans.
You're the real thing.
Devin Haney could retire tomorrow, and the boxing world wouldn't bat an eyelash over it. Fighter like Inoue, a generational talent, a national hero, a treasure, is one of one, whereas you're one of many in what is an assembly line of Mayweather clones, Mayweather wannabes who modeled themselves and their careers after one of the more disliked fighters in the sport.
You're not original, you're not interesting, and you're the manufactured one.
Eddie did say that he wanted to speak to you before this went over the line, and you chose not to speak to him. Can you kind of elaborate on that? What was you thinking in that moment?
I didn't choose not to speak to him. I didn't want to go into the details of it. And I think things were very heated with the teams, and knowing how I am as an individual, would the call have been beneficial? Would the call have been great for us? And I personally don't think it would have. But once the dust had settled and it had calmed down, I messaged Eddie saying, I love you, mate. And, you know, this ain't the end of the road. You know, the journey does continue. But when things are heated, I've said things in the moment from previous experiences where, you know, you regret saying them. Why speak in the midst of hurt, ego, pride, anger? Nothing good comes from it, you know. So I think we both could have dealt with it better privately.
Did you speak to your dad about this?
Yeah, my dad, when he heard the numbers, it was a no-brainer. Again, I say, my love for Eddie, my love for Barry, they are the best people I've worked with to date. I've never felt the need to go anywhere else. I've never wanted to go anywhere else. They've made me into the fighter I am today.
No one is saying that Conor Benn should have rejected the money in an effort to stay loyal to Matchroom. If somebody else has a better deal, you just take it.
What people are saying is be a man about it.
That's it. That after all the work that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom have put into your career, they deserved a lot better than what they got. Simple as. See in that interview conducted by Boxing King Media that Conor told Eddie this is not the end of the road.
But it's a bit hard to imagine that after this he's gonna go back to Matchroom, that they would even have him back.
One of the more interesting details that have since come out since Conor Benn effectively crossed over from Matchroom over to Zuffa is that Matchroom did have matching rights. So then you ask yourself, if he was so invaluable to them, why didn't they match it, whatever he was being offered?
There were multiple options for Conor Benn on the table. There was a long-term agreement with Zuffa Boxing that I believe Matchroom was willing to match, but that wasn't the agreement that Conor Benn wanted to sign. He wanted to sign this one-fight deal that was worth $15 million, which is a huge amount of money. And look, I don't blame Matchroom for not doing it. I don't know how you make any money off that. Like, you paying one guy $15 million, he's probably going to wind up fighting Rolly Romero.
Not even Rolly, he's fighting Regis Prograis. Commercially, a Regis Prograis fight in the United Kingdom or the United States is nowhere near worth $15 million.
It's just not. So that if Matchroom would have tried to match what Conor was offered, they'd be bleeding red ink. They would have signed on to lose millions. And that's why they didn't match it.
Then why is Zuffa paying him that?
Zuffa isn't. It's not Zuffa, and it's not Netflix kicking out that ginormous purse to Conor Benn. It's Turkey El Sheikh himself, as stated in Mark Shapiro's official statement. Let me be clear. We signed Conor Benn for just one fight. That's all we're talking about here. Of course, we hope eventually he will fight in our Zuffa boxing series exclusively on Paramount Plus, but for now, this is just one fight. No different than what we did with Canelo and Crawford. I would add that the reported $15 million purse, I'm not confirming or denying that's accurate, that Conor will be paid for the super fight in 2026, is not TKO going out of pocket. Sella, led by our great partner, Turkey El Sheikh, is covering the purse.
So Turkey's the one overpaying him.
Well, that's what Turkey's been doing with a lot of these fighters. But why overpay Conor Benn for a one-fight deal and to fight Regis Prograis of all people? What's the point? If this were some sort of a strategy, what would be the end game? You're basically overpaying him to overpay him?
Yes, guys, Conor Benn here. Just finished training this morning. It's been a flat-out week, but I'm excited to announce I will be fighting April the 11th, live on Netflix. Co-main event of Fury versus Magmadov against Regis Prograis. Make sure you tune in live on Netflix. Let's have it.
I saw a funny comment from old Fish Eyes Frank Warren reacting to what Conor Benn's supposed to be making for this fight, $15 million. Frank said the sums of money that's being paid, I don't see what type of investment it's doing. He ain't even the best at his own weight in Essex.
Frank is not impressed.
And Frank doesn't see how it's justifiable to kick out that kind of money to Conor Benn for what is one fight and against Regis Prograis, it just doesn't make sense.
Because he couldn't have fought Regis Prograis on the Matchroom side of things?
For $15 million, if Turkey was so desperate to give him that kind of money, he could have kept him over there. How does this advance Zuffa's efforts in the boxing space by paying Bugatti prices for what is a Toyota Camry?
But to a lot of people, $15 million to Conor Benn for a Prograis fight is far too much money. And even if it's coming from Turkey, all the same.
If this is what you're paying him, I mean, that's not really a win or a soluble investment. Maybe it's just a flex. A feat of strength.
I guess.
Look at what we're capable of. Look at what we can do. At the drop of a hat, we can take a fighter that you've invested years in and bring him over to our side, albeit momentarily. That's what we can do.
It's overkill, though, ain't it?
The Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis fight will be fought at 150-pound catchweight. Sources familiar with the deal told Sports Illustrated Now. Benn making his way back down from 160. Prograis is a former unified 140-pound champion moving up.
These are just my thoughts.
I half expected it to be Rolly that they get for Conor Benn, given what they were estimated to be paying him. I'm a little bit surprised that it ended up being Regis. I didn't even know he was in the running. The fight itself is a layup.
It's all about putting Conor in a winnable situation as he makes his way back down to the welterweight division where he hasn't fought in 2 or 3 years.
As it would be dangerous to plummet from 160 all the way back down to 147 without making a pit stop in between. But of course, the junior middleweight division and the junior middleweights are far too dangerous for Conor Benn.
What this fight tells me is, even though it's reported to be a one-fight deal, they're gonna do more business with Conor Benn after this.
This isn't the real reason they poached him from Eddie. They've got a different plan, a bigger one, and Regis Prograis is just a pit stop en route to that.
I'm not complaining.
I'm not critical. The reason for it is because this fight comes to us at no additional cost. To me and you, we get to see it as the co-main event of Fury versus Makhmudov on Netflix, not on pay-per-view. So, even if it is a layup, even if it is a tune-up,
I won't be shouting it from the rooftops if Conor Benn goes in there and knocks out Regis Prograis, who, when last I saw him, got wobbled by the light-punching Jojo Diaz.
I saw Regis get buckled more than once in that fight. At this point, he's a guy in his mid to late 30s, shot to shit, fighting 2 divisions north of where he reigned as a champion. So you can't give Conor but so much credit for the win if he gets it.
A tune-up fight is what it is.
A high-profile formality, an expensive one, and it just is what it is. But because it doesn't cost me anything extra, I'm not complaining. It's not the announcement that I was expecting. I was expecting Rolly. Instead, it turned out to be Regis. But if it's on, yeah, I'll watch it.
Though I do wonder, what's Rolly going to be doing? Who is Rolly going to fight if it's not going to be Conor?
We still got a mandatory in Shakram Giyasov. If he's not fighting anybody else, I suppose he's going to have to fight him. No?